And on the first day, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and top advisor, looked across the country and he saw a prison system and he saw there were too many black people in prison for no reason whatsoever. So he decided, with a bunch of other people like big Obama supporter Van Jones, he decided that they would start offering the people in prison education. They would reduce their sentences. They would make them promise before they let them out that they would be good little boys and they would never come back again, and thus they would reduce recidivism. One thing, I mean, what a great idea. One thing that Jarod Kushner and Van Jones never answered is, haven't we been trying this since 1964? Haven't we tried this over and over and over and over and over again? You're trying to tell me that in prison, most prisons, you can't get vocational reform? You're trying to tell me that it's easy to get to prison? To get to, before you're standing in front of a judge and the judge says, okay, off you go to prison, you've been in the system for a long time. You've been offered vocational training. You've been ordered to go to vocational training. But something else always pops up. Your grandmother got sick. You got sick. You had to take a bus, or you didn't have any money for bus fare, or you had too much money for bus fare, whatever. None of this works. It's been tried a million times. And yet Jarod Kushner tries it again, and everyone celebrates it. We're finally going to do something about prison reform. Why don't we just take a couple of recent examples? In Baltimore, just the other day, a bunch of the fellas were in a car casing the neighborhoods. They came across an empty house, or a house that looked like they could burglarize it. They went in, left one guy out as a lookout. Cop comes up. He takes off. The cop corners the guy, the lookout, in a cul-de-sac. He gets out of the car, shoots her, runs her over with the car. They get in front of the judge, and the the judge says to the public defender, "Your client is a one-man crime wave," and they went to talk about his lengthy juvenile record, the record that put this kid back on the street when he was 16 years old with a crew of other black people, leaving them willy-nilly to run around the neighborhoods, not in Baltimore City, outside of Baltimore, where the pickings are better. Left them free to just run around, run amok, commit unbelievable levels of crimes against property and crimes against people. And if they ever got caught, the whole thing just starts over and over and over again, which is, well, you didn't really mean to do that, did you? No, Your Honor, I've got a little baby I got to take care of, or I got a little niece, I got a little nephew I got to take care of, Your Honor. Well, that's how he was out on the street. Finally, the judge, I guess somehow, for some reason, I don't know why, a judge said, okay, we're going to draw the line at killing a cop. We're going to put you in jail for a while, and it's probably going to be a while. Meanwhile, in Baltimore, people who commit crime are just routinely let back on the street because that's also part of criminal justice reform. No bail. Oh, you don't have any money for bail? Then we're not going to criminalize you because you are poor. We are going to let you go back out on the street, commit some more crimes. And by the way, while you're out there, you can go intimidate the people who are witnesses to your previous crimes. Then a year from now, 2 years from now, we can put up our flag, wave it around, and declare that crime is down. The numbers are down. You refuse to enforce the law, then you celebrate the fact that the crime numbers are down. Yeah, that's how they roll in Omaha too. And there was a crew of black people in Omaha. They would communicate with guys over, I guess, Tinder, one of these dating apps. And they would tell the guys on Tinder, they would say, hey, I'm a lovely lady. I'm very eager to have intimate relations with you. Can you meet with me? They did that 7 times. Let me rephrase that. They got caught doing that 7 times. When a guy showed up, they pulled guns on him and took his money and his phone and his wallet. Sometimes more. That's armed robbery in Omaha. How many people who are victims of that kind of crime report them to the police? We already know that the reporting rate for violent crime is about 50%. And when you put in the whole dating, when you put in the whole sex thing, when you put in the whole like, oh, maybe I don't want to let my wife know I'm out here meeting people in the dark on Tinder, all of a sudden that 7 number, that's 7 times where they robbed people in Omaha. Well, that number starts getting bigger. 14, 20, 21, 25. Let's take a look at one of these cases, and we're going to take a look about how a judge had some kind of spasm of common sense.
In the dating app robberies back in September is expected back in court today. 20-year-old Jordan Kellogg is charged with felony robbery counts and attempted robbery between September 19th and 28th. Now, prosecutors say Kellogg and Janata Liggins would pretend to be women and meet guys on dating apps. Now, the men would meet up who they thought were women at homes near Miller Park late at night. Kellogg and Liggins then allegedly robbed them at gunpoint for their wallets and phones. Kellogg's preliminary hearing is scheduled for today.
Okay, so flash forward to earlier this week. The probation officer comes in and says, yes, your officer, yes, Your Honor. I think we ought to put these guys on intensive probation for a couple of months, and that ought to straighten them out right away. The judge looked at the case and he said, hold on. You want to put these guys on probation for armed robbery. And this isn't one of these walking down the street, clunk somebody over the head and take some money so you can go buy your little sister a loaf of bread. No, this is a planned robbery where the fellas, were planning it and they were doing it all the time. They've had a lot of fun doing it. And the judge looks at the probation officer and the prosecutor, and he says, are you nuts? These guys are armed robbers. You want me to put them on probation for a few months? I don't know why this judge from Omaha, Nebraska, wasn't part of that prison reform that Jarod Kushner and Van Jones are pushing down everybody's throats now. But the judge said, oh no, you pull a gun on somebody in Omaha, you rob somebody in Omaha, Nebraska, you're going to prison. And so he sentenced them to 20 years. And that's when the wailing and gnashing of teeth started. Well, really it kind of started before and after that. But they're in court and they're talking, and in the sentencing, you get to stand up and talk. He goes, "Oh, I got a little baby. I've been in jail for a couple months, Your Honor, and I got a little baby. I got to come out and raise her." Not a word about the victims. Not a single word about the victims. Everybody came out and said, "Oh, they're good boys, Your Honor. Besides, they got to stay around and raise the babies." At that point, the judge got pissed because during the sentencing, they didn't even mention the victims. They didn't. All they did was say, we deserve to get out because if not, who's going to raise our babies, Your Honor? And so I don't know what they're eating out there in Omaha. I don't know what they're drinking out there in Omaha. Some judge saw through the whole scam of quote-unquote intensive probation. He knew that these kids, if you put them back out on the street, probation wouldn't mean anything. Jarod Kushner's prison reform wouldn't mean anything. It's amazing how many courses there are out there for people to get some kind of job skill. Whether it's working on a construction site or a road crew or working at a code academy, they're begging for people to go in there. They run ads on all the community channels going, oh, we need some people to, study, learn how to do this, learn how to do that. Nobody shows up. All we get is Jared Kushner and Van Jones going, no, we need to do more of the stuff that doesn't work. But the one thing it does do, Your Honor, if we let people out of prison, make them promise they're going to get job training, which they never show up for, well, at least that doesn't make the black kids angry.